10 ounces of fresh baby spinach, steamed for about 3 minutes in the pan and left to cool. 10 ounces of spinach, steamed in the pan, then moved to the colander to cool and finish draining. Toasting bread to make the bread crumbs takes about 25 minutes in a 350 oven to get them nice and crisp, and then they'll just crumble up for you. Saute pan heating at medium heat until it's nice and hot. Then we'll add the butter. Onion chopped very finely. Added to pan and we'll stir until translucent. Once it's translucent, we'll turn off the fire and let it cool in the pan. The spinach is cooled. The onions are cooled. We've squeezed the spinach a lot. And just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until very little liquid drips out. Then we're going to add it together with the onions and the garlic and a few more items we'll show you in a minute. I'm using a Pyrex loaf pan for my spinach pie that we're preparing. And before I mix the other ingredients together, I'm going to prep that pan, and I'm going to use ghee, one of the most awesome oils you need to add to your shelf. And look for my video on how to make it if you're interested. Well, we're ready to mix, and here's what we have. Starting on the lower left-hand side, we have about a heaping quarter cup of Parmesan cheese. You can also use Romano if you like. The brown crumbles are the breadcrumbs that we toasted earlier, and we have just crushed those in our hand, and we'll use about 5 to 6 tablespoons, just depending on how wet our mixture is. We want to keep as much liquid absorbed away from this process as possible. Then we're also going to add 3 eggs that are lightly whipped in the bowl above the breadcrumbs, and then to the right in the spoon you're going to see nutmeg. Don't let that scare you. Just do it, and it will make such a huge difference in this dish. About 1 teaspoon. You can start with a half teaspoon if you like, if you're testing this new taste in a savory dish. Then we have 2 different kinds of cheeses. On the right hand side we have about 2 ounces of dry ricotta and 2 ounces of feta cheese. We mix these. We have some taste buds that aren't really familiar with some of these stronger cheese tastes, and so we're adding the dry ricotta to help ease them into new tastes. We find this wonderful cheese selection at a nearby Italian community, Krebs, Oklahoma, and it's just an awesome place. You should stop there at Lavera's Grocery and check out their cheese selection. They have a cheese facility and make a lot of their own condiments and pickled items, beets, asparagus. They also have stuffed olives and just so many things it's hard to name. Oh, but one I have to mention before we move on is their homemade sausage. They make it right there. Italian sausage, spicy or sweet, whatever your preference is. If you haven't been, go. Okay, on to our mixing, and I'll show you what it looks like in our next step. It's all in the pan and we're ready to stir. We've also added about a half a teaspoon of salt. You don't want to add too much at this point because the cheeses, especially the Parm and the Feta, are so salty in and of themselves that you can oversalt easily at this point. Taste at the end and add more if you need it. We've also added about a half a teaspoon of, yes, you guessed it, crushed red pepper. It's a beautiful addition to this dish, and we'll stir it all together and put it in the ovens till it's nice and bubbly hot. We have moved the mixture from the pan into our loaf pan to put into the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes until it's nice and bubbly and just a little starting to brown on the tips of the cheese that you can see there. Now you can see that this is sort of a cross between a spinach pie and a baked ricotta or baked feta dish. This was inspired by Ina Garten's spinach pie and several recipes that I found on Pinterest for the baked ricotta and baked feta. And I thought a combination of all of these things would be excellent, and it turned out it is. So we have moved this into this dish, but if you're being casual or a home night and you just want to bake it in the pan that we stirred it up in, and it's a oven-proof pan, of course, you can just slide that into your oven and bake from there. Slide it on, move it onto the table, and dip your bread in. Put it on crackers, whatever you please. In this case, we're having the grandson's 14th birthday tonight, and this is one of the dishes being served. And I've made it early in the morning, and we're going to put it in the refrigerator until time to serve and pull it out, slide it into our oven at 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. I will let it sit on the counter for about 30 minutes to let the chill come off before sliding it into the oven. And it will be just a lovely, lovely dish, and everyone will enjoy. We're also serving, let's see, grapes is one of his favorite things he's asked for. He wanted some Black Forest ham to make some sandwiches. He also wanted salami and a baguette. So there's some of his favorite foods for his birthday dinner. I know, odd choices, but what can you say? He has great taste.